I just saw blood everywhere, and the window is open.
3 children, a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a baby just 8 months old, were strangled in the basement of a quiet family home in Duxbury, Massachusetts. The person who did it was not an intruder. It was their own mother, a labor and delivery nurse, who spent her days helping other women bring their babies safely into the world.
Yeah, the house is really quiet.
Is that unusual?
Yeah.
And when you realized it was really quiet, what did you do?
I called out.
And who did you call out to?
Everyone.
Did anyone answer?
No.
When her husband came home that January evening, he found her broken on the frozen ground beneath an open second-story window. 2 of their children were pronounced dead that night. The baby fought for 3 more days, but here is the part that has turned this into one of the most disturbing and divisive cases in America. Because what happened in that house may not have been a choice at all.
Okay.
She says a male voice took over her mind and ordered her to kill her children and then herself. The defense does not deny that she did it. They are arguing that she was insane, lost to a severe postpartum psychosis that hospital after hospital somehow failed to catch.
She was still temporarily intubated. One of the first questions that Lindsay Clancy asked was, "Do I need an attorney?" She knew that she had murdered her children, and she had the clarity, focus, and mental acumen to focus on protecting her own rights and interests. The following is a summary of the events that led to the murders of Cora Clancy, Dawson Clancy, and Callan Clancy.
But prosecutors say that is a lie. That she was clear-headed, that she planned it down to the minute, that she waited until she was alone. Right now, a jury is deciding which of those 2 women she really is. And by the end of this, you are going to have to decide too. To understand how it ever came to this, we have to go back to the very beginning. Before we go on, this is the Crime Almanac, where we cover real cases on the record. If a story like this is why you're here, take a second to subscribe. It genuinely helps. Now, to understand how a devoted mother ends up accused of this, we have to go back to the very beginning. That is Patrick Clancy, on a witness stand more than 3 years later, forcing himself back into the worst minute of his life. Upstairs, he would find an open second-floor window and a room full of blood. In the basement, he would find Cora, Dawson, and Callan. And the person the state says killed them, the person even the defense agrees killed them, was not an intruder. It was their mother, a labor and delivery nurse, a woman who, by every single account, loved them beyond words. So how do you get from a snowman in the front yard that same afternoon to 3 small caskets? That is the question a jury in Plymouth, Massachusetts is being asked right now. And I have to tell you up front, it is not the question you think it is. Because this case is not really about what happened. Everyone agrees on what happened. It is about what was happening inside one woman's mind while it did. This is the Crime Almanac, real cases, on the record. If that's what brought you here, take a second to subscribe before we go further. Because to understand this one, you have to walk the whole road she walked. And it starts a long time before that January night. Lindsay Clancy was 32 years old that winter. She grew up in Wallingford, Connecticut, the kind of kid described the same way by everyone: kind, driven, responsible. She went to Quinnipiac University, and she chose a career that tells you almost everything about her. She became a labor and delivery nurse. Think about what that job actually is, when a woman is at her most frightened and most vulnerable. In the middle of bringing a new life into the world, the labor and delivery nurse is the person in the room holding it together. Lindsay did that for a living at Massachusetts General Hospital, one of the best in the country. She was professionally an expert in exactly the kind of moment her own life was about to turn on. Hold that, it is going to ache later. She met Patrick in 2013, introduced through her college roommate. They married in 2016. Friends and family describe a marriage that worked, and a woman who poured herself into being a mother. The parent who planned the art projects packed the good snacks, kept the schedule. By early 2023, they had 3 kids and a home in Duxbury, a quiet coastal town south of Boston. From the outside, it was the life people spend decades trying to build, and most of the people watching that life had no idea it was already coming apart. Before we go any further, I want to stop on the 3 people this is really about. Because in everything that's coming, courtrooms and diagnoses and expert witnesses, it is dangerously easy to lose them. Cora was 5, the oldest, the helper, the one who looked out for her little brothers, who had a stomach ache that week her parents were keeping an eye on, who had just had a birthday party. Dawson was 3.
And you had testified that you observed Dawson on the couch eating, I believe you said chicken nuggets and green beans. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Do you recall, if you're facing the couch, where he was on the couch?
If I were facing the couch, he'd be to the right.
That is the last picture Patrick had of his middle son, a 3-year-old on the couch with a snack on an ordinary evening. And Callan was the baby, 8 months old, born the previous May. Cora, Dawson, Callan. I'm going to say their names more than once in this video on purpose. Everything that follows happened to them. They don't get a defense, or an appeal, or a second interview with a psychiatrist. They just get remembered, so let's make sure they are. Cora, 5, in kindergarten, the big sister who had just celebrated a birthday. Dawson, 3, in that inn, between age where everything is a question and the world is still brand new. And Callan, only 8 months, a baby who had barely started his life. 3 children in one family, in one house, on one ordinary winter evening. Whatever a courtroom eventually decides, that is the weight at the center of it, and no verdict makes it lighter. Callan was born in May of 2022, and this is where the ground begins to move. Lindsay had been through postpartum anxiety before, after Cora, and then worse after Dawson.
Yeah, much more so than Cora.
Okay. And was she on maternity leave at that time?
Yes.
How many weeks leave did she have at that time?
But she'd come through it both times. After Callan, something was different. As the end of her maternity leave came into view, the deadline to go back to the hospital, back to other people's emergencies, the anxiety didn't level off, it climbed.
And so did the anxiety start as it became closer in time to when she had to go back to work?
Yes.
How many shifts was she working at that time?
Before Cora was born, she was working.
And here is the thing you have to understand about Lindsay Clancy, because it reframes this entire story. She was a nurse. She recognized that something was wrong with her. And she did the exact thing we all say people in trouble should do. She asked for help. She went and got it not once, not quietly, but over and over through the fall of 2022 from doctor after doctor after doctor. She had even taken psychiatric medication years earlier, back in nursing school. This was not a woman in denial about mental health. Patrick described a wife still trying to hold on to normal life, even as the fear crept in, the two of them planning a trip, and Lindsay suddenly anxious about it in a way that wasn't like her.
I was planning a trip with Cora to San Francisco, and she was nervous about us going, and I remember we went to a Halloween event, and just leading up to it, I remember it just kind of seemed like she didn't want to go for some reason.
Prior to getting married, did the defendant ever tell you she had taken psychiatric medication while in nursing school?
Not that I recall.
After having Cora, did the 3 of you move somewhere else?
Because her son was coughing, and she worried a great deal about the children's health.
And that would be something that would also intrude on her sleep, worrying about her children?
Yes.
Okay.
What happens next is the part of this case almost nobody knows from the headlines, and it is the part that turns a monster story into something far harder to look away from. Follow the calendar with me, because the dates matter. In September of 2022, she saw a psychiatrist, Dr. Jennifer Tufts. The diagnosis, generalized anxiety disorder. The planned therapy and a starter antidepressant, Zoloft. The Zoloft made it hard to sleep, so in October they added Ativan, a sedative. They floated another drug, Busbar. She was afraid to keep stacking new medications and declined it. Then they warned her the Ativan could become habit-forming and cut the dose back.
She said, I've just been having a lot of trouble sleeping, and I'm hoping that, like, if there's less in and out, then there'll be less disruption.
She was so worried about becoming dependent that she did something quietly telling. She went into an online support group for postpartum moms and asked, in effect, "Am I getting addicted to this?" Mid-November, she went 2 straight days without sleeping and drove herself to a hospital emergency room.
So she drove herself to the hospital?
She did.
And she drove herself home from the hospital then? Is that correct? Now, during this time frame between September and November of 2022, are you still participating in activities as a family?
They tried trazodone. It didn't help. Her mother-in-law, a nurse herself, stepped in and connected her to a new provider. And now the prescriptions start coming faster than anyone can steer them. Prozac. Then, within days, Ambien, Remeron, Klonopin. Days after that, a different clinician adds Seroquel, an antipsychotic.
Yeah, I think the police took a bag of prescription medications that night, the night my kids passed away. Mm-hmm. And then there was a bag that I had in my truck that I was supposed to, nurse practitioner Gelada said you can bring them to like a police station, they get rid of them for you. But I never got around to it.
And where had you stored those in your truck?
In the center console. It's like underneath the center console that opens.
You have one of those center consoles that open up, but then there's another larger compartment below it?
Yeah.
So was it your plan to bring these to a location where they could be properly disposed?
Yeah, I didn't want to just throw them in the trash, so.
And these were all medications that had been prescribed in the past to Lindsay, but she was no longer taking, correct?
Right.
Stop and count. In roughly 10 weeks, this woman had been prescribed close to 10 different psychiatric medications, layered one on top of another by several different providers who were not always talking to each other. And in early December, you can see the first crack open in real time. She reported that one of the drugs, Remeron, was giving her her words, horribly intrusive thoughts, that she wanted it all over, that she felt concerningly numb, like she had no emotion left at all. She called 2 suicide hotlines. Neither escalated her care, because it was noted she didn't have a specific plan. Let that land. She was telling everyone who would listen that her mind was coming apart. And the system's answer, again and again, was another prescription. She reached out for crisis help more than once, by one account, calling a hotline twice.
Yes.
She called twice, not once, but twice, and again was turned away. Isn't that right?
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am.
Come on.
And at trial, the defense would put an expert on the stand to name what all of this looked like from the outside, a concept called polypharmacy. Too many powerful drugs, layered too fast, interacting in ways no one was fully tracking.
By Dr. Spinelli and Dr. Zeisel talk about polypharmacology as part of the basis of their opinions in this case. So it's difficult to assess that, and we're obviously flagging it and objecting at this point based on what we know the anticipated evidence to be. So I don't know if a proffer is necessary at this point to outline what exactly he expects Dr. Condi to say and how that differs from the opinions of the other experts.
It seems to me that the main objection may lay in regards to Dr. Spinelli then, whether or not, it depends on what her testimony is and how that overlaps with whatever Dr. Condi's is at this point.
If I may, Judge.
Yeah.
And I appreciate the fact that you recognize that we have not yet put on a doctor yet. I don't have to accept their evidence. I don't have to accept their doctors. Our doctors, this is our first doctor, who is a very qualified psychopharmacologist. I expect to elicit from him the treatment, very briefly, that she received and the medications that she was on and the effect of these medications as it relates to her condition when she was seeking medical help.
In early December, one provider finally raised a bigger possibility, bipolar disorder, and recommended she be hospitalized. Lindsay went to the emergency room at Mass General and declined to be admitted. Then she entered a specialized postpartum day program in Rhode Island. And here the story takes the turn people will argue about for the rest of their lives. That program discharged her quickly, and not because she wasn't sick enough, the opposite. Their read was that she was over-medicated, that the tower of drugs itself might be doing the damage. They advised her to come off the Seroquel. Through December, the crisis just kept escalating. She reached out to a crisis line, the Aspire hotline, more than once.
She called the Aspire hotline, I believe, on 2 occasions.
And was she given any help by the Aspire hotline?
I believe the records say that she was told by Aspire that since she did not have a suicide plan, she did not require what's called a higher level of care, meaning an inpatient admission.
She went back to the Mass General emergency room on New Year's Eve. A provider had already urged that she be admitted somewhere that could really hold and evaluate her.
Then you returned to Mass General Hospital, the emergency department, on December 31st. Is that correct?
Yes.
And why did you go back on the 31st?
Because she was still talking about thoughts of suicide, and I was exhausted. I said, I think it's time to go to McLean.
Okay. And did they recommend to her some type of admission to McLean Hospital?
I remember there was one doctor who was in favor of that, and there were 2 others who were more in favor of a day program.
And did they give you information about a specific day program?
Yes. Were you aware that she had also contacted suicide hotlines and went to a facility in Rhode Island, Women and Infants?
Yes, I reviewed all those records.
By now, Patrick was frightened and pushing, trying to get her in front of someone who could really see her.
Do you recall testifying previously that I called her parents to come up to stay with us, and I told her that I asked her who her doctor was because I was very concerned at this point. She was prescribed 10 different medications in just over 2 months, so it didn't make sense to me. And then you said, so after her parents came up, she said, I have a remote meeting with Rebecca Gelada, and you said, no, it has to be in person.
Yeah, I felt like it had to be in person because I just felt like there was a disconnect. I said, I think it's time to go to McLean. And we didn't have a diagnosis. So we just didn't really know what was wrong. And I think for me, I was hoping that McLean could really evaluate her and try to figure out the best path forward.
On New Year's Day 2023, she voluntarily checked herself into McLean Hospital, one of the most respected psychiatric hospitals in the world, and McLean's assessment is the single most important sentence in the prosecution's case. Their diagnosis, major depressive disorder, severe, but, they wrote, without psychotic features. The psychiatrists there described a woman who was deeply depressed and badly sleep-deprived, but who was future-oriented, invested in her children, and surrounded by a loving family. No psychosis. They discharged her after 5 days, in part, testimony suggested, because she badly wanted to be home for a milestone that tells you everything about who she still was underneath all of it. Cora's birthday.
It's because she wanted to go to Cora's birthday party on the 7th.
Not that I recall.
Were you aware, or did Lindsay tell you that she then asked the doctors to discharge her on January 5th because she wanted to go home and get ready for the party?
I wasn't aware of Lindsay asking the doctors to be discharged.
Okay.
And I think for me, I was hoping that McLean could really evaluate her and try to figure out the best path forward.
Okay, so the path to getting to McLean was to go to the emergency department at Mass General and be referred to McLean. Is that correct?
Yes.
Were you aware that night while at the hospital, Lindsay was taking selfies?
No.
Right, that may be admitted, or they may be admitted.
Can you exhibit me taking a selfie at the hospital, is that correct?
Are you asking me?
Yes.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
And then the second page is just her legs in the doorway, is that correct?
Yep.
As a result of going to Mass General and telling them about her suicidal thoughts, was she transferred to McLean Hospital?
Yeah.
Okay.
But at home, the people closest to her were watching something worse. She was losing weight. She had told Patrick she was having suicidal thoughts. And then, something no parent ever wants to hear, thoughts of harming the children.
What's your reaction when she tells you that she's having these suicidal thoughts?
I just wanted to support her. I asked those questions back to her, and her mother was coming up pretty regularly anyways, so we let them know, and we just try to be supportive.
Did she also tell you at that time, at the beginning of December, that she was having some other intrusive thoughts?
Yeah.
Is that how she described them or how you described them, intrusive thoughts?
I would say both.
Okay. And when she told you that she was having intrusive thoughts, did you ask her what they were?
Yeah.
And what was her response?
She described thoughts of hurting the kids or them having some sort of ailment. So like she was very worried that Cora had, whenever she had a stomach ache, she became overly worried that she was, had like a liver problem or something much more dramatic than it was.
Okay. But going back to that first part, she said she had thoughts of harming the kids. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And did she tell you whether or not she had specific thoughts of how she would harm the kids?
No.
And she didn't describe that as hearing this external voice telling her to harm the kids, correct?
Correct.
She told you she was having intrusive thoughts herself of harming the children, correct?
Correct.
Herself of harming the children, correct?
Correct.
And did you ask her how she was going to harm the kids?
I didn't ask it in that way. It was the same thing. I said, do you have a plan, and is it disturbing to you? And she said no, and then she said yes. And
let me go back for a minute there. You said, do you have a plan? And she said no. What was the second question? Second part of the question?
Do you find it disturbing?
Okay.
And she said yes. And she described it as, really the way she was describing it as something that might happen to the kids.
So it was more something might happen than she might do something. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And did she tell you how long she had those thoughts for?
She didn't give a duration.
And how many times did she tell you this, that she had thoughts of harming the kids?
A couple times.
And was that a couple times over the course of a night or two in December?
Yeah.
And as a result of her telling you this, that she had thoughts of harming the kids, what did you do?
Her parents came up, and I think I asked her at some point, do you feel like you need to be kept away from them? And she said no. And then, it was very confusing because a minute later she was making them lunch or playing with them or, getting them ready for bed or whatever it was. So, she started to lose a lot of weight, and she became very depressed, and she was having a really hard time.
And did she describe to you some thoughts or feelings that she was having at that time?
Her outpatient psychiatrist saw her on January 6th and used one word for where she was headed: deteriorating. And on January 23rd, the day before, they met by video. Lindsay looked depressed. She said she had to force herself out of bed, but she denied any thoughts of suicide, denied any thoughts of harming anyone, and again, no psychosis was observed. Remember that date, because the very next day was January 24th. By every account, January 24th started better than most days had in weeks. Lindsay told Patrick she'd actually slept and felt good. She took Cora to a doctor's appointment about that stomach ache. She built a snowman with the kids in the front yard. She did art projects at the kitchen table while Patrick worked in his home office downstairs. Ordinary texts. An ordinary winter day.
They built a snowman and they did some art projects.
And how did you know this was happening?
She texted me a picture.
So Lindsay was continuing to text you and send you photographs throughout that day?
And yet, listen to how Patrick himself described that whole stretch under oath when the prosecutor asked whether she was getting better.
She wasn't really improving. She just kind of seemed to be gradually becoming more in like a depressed state.
And how was that manifesting?
Not a woman on the mend, a woman quietly sinking while doing every ordinary thing a devoted mother does. That afternoon, Patrick felt comfortable enough to run out for dinner. He left the kids with her, the way he had 1,000 times, the way no doctor had ever told him not to. Around 5:15, Lindsay called in a takeout order, and as Patrick was heading out the door, she asked him for one more thing.
She wanted me to pick up some stool softener for Cora.
And she hadn't mentioned that earlier in the text, correct?
Yeah, I don't think so.
So as you're leaving, she asked you to make a second or another stop while you're out. Is that correct?
One more errand. A few more minutes away from the house. At 5:32, from the drugstore, he called her about the medicine. She called him back a minute later and seemed busy. He reached the restaurant just before 6:20 some minutes. The prosecution will tell you those minutes were the plan. The defense will tell you they were a tragedy nobody saw coming. That gap, that little window of a man running 2 errands, is the whole case. Patrick came home a few minutes after 6, and the house that is never quiet was quiet. He called out. Nobody answered. He went upstairs.
I just saw blood everywhere, and the window is open.
And showing you here a photo. Is this the bed in your bedroom?
Yeah.
Now, the way the bed is in this photo, kind of pulled away from the wall and slightly askew or at an angle, is that the way it was typically?
No.
And when you left the bedroom that day for the last time prior to coming home later that night, was the bed in that position?
I don't think so.
You could have this photo marked just the next one.
It may be admitted.
Exhibit 42. And you said you saw the window, is that correct?
Yeah.
Was it open?
Yeah, there was wind blowing in.
Showing you a photo here. Is that a fair and accurate depiction of how the window looked?
Yeah.
That's the Mark this the next exhibit, please.
That may be admitted.
Exhibit 43. Did you walk into the room and over to the window?
No.
How far into the room did you get?
Probably 1 or 2 steps, and then I immediately turned around and went outside.
And the blood that you saw, where was that located in the room?
It was everywhere. It was, it looked like it was sprayed almost with like a hose. And there was a huge puddle in the middle of the room, and it was sprayed all over pretty much every surface. I remember it was on the doorknob.
Okay. Showing you 3 photos.
Lindsay had gone out that second-story window. Patrick ran outside and found her on the frozen ground.
I just looked around in the backyard below that window, and I saw Lindsay.
And where did you see her?
She was face up in the backyard,
And where in the backyard was she?
at the bottom of the window.
And so, looking at exhibit 38, you said this was the window, correct, at the top right?
Correct.
Where was she in relation to that window?
Directly below it.
So down here by the window well?
Yeah.
For the record, I was pointing right below the bottom right window by the window well. I'll show you a photo of that window you were referring to. Is this the exterior view of that window to your bedroom that night?
Yeah.
We could have this marked as an exhibit, please.
That may be admitted.
Exhibit 48. Showing you exhibit 48. So the window's open, correct?
Yes.
And the screen for the window is up, correct?
Yeah.
At any point in time that night or afterwards, did you notice that the screen was cut or broken in any way?
I didn't notice that, no.
And when you saw Lindsay on the ground there under the window, which direction was her body facing?
Her head was closer to the house. Her feet were away from the house.
Okay. And did you go to her?
Yeah.
And did you observe any injuries?
Yes.
And what did you see?
She had deep cuts on her wrists, and she had a red line across her neck.
Well, you're still on the 911 call?
Yeah, I didn't realize it at the time, but I did.
Okay. And have you look at this model here on the screen. Is this a fair and accurate depiction of the setup of your basement?
Yeah.
Okay. If you can just describe the rooms for us, what the purpose of each room was.
So the room in the back left was my office. The room with the black rubber mat is the gym. And then there's the living room to the right of that. And then the back right is just an area of the living room, and then there's a bathroom next to that.
So when you come down those stairs that night, which direction did you go?
I immediately went left.
And when you went left, what did you see?
I saw Cora.
And how did she look?
She had a band around her neck.
And was that an exercise band?
Yeah.
And do you recall whether she was, what position she was in, whether face up or face down?
She's face down.
And when you saw her in that condition, what did you do?
I immediately ran over and tried to take the band off.
Were you able to get the band off?
Yeah.
And do you recall how you got the band off?
I think I untied it.
And when you say untied it, was it in a knot that you had to put everything down and unknot it, or how was it tied?
I'm not sure I fully remember.
Do you recall describing it previously as when you initially tie your shoes but then don't do the bow?
Yeah, that sounds right.
I need to be honest with you about that 911 call. It exists. It was played for the jury, and by every account it is unbearable. But the court has barred it from public release, so you will not hear it from me, and you should be skeptical of anyone online who claims to play you the real audio, because it isn't out there. What we know from the courtroom is this: Patrick begged his wife to wake up, and then he went to find his children in the basement.
I think I was back and forth. I think I went to try to help Cora.
Okay. Did you try to give her CPR?
Yeah.
At some point in time, do the first responders make their way down to the basement?
Yeah.
And do they take over care of the children?
Yeah.
Where do you go?
They sent me upstairs.
Okay. And at this point, Your Honor, I'd move to submit the 911 call as the next exhibit.
That may be allowed pursuant to the earlier order.
Cora, Dawson, and Callan removed from the home and taken to a hospital.
Yeah.
Was that Beth Israel Deaconess in Plymouth?
Yeah.
Did you also go to that location?
Yeah.
And at the hospital, were you able to see your children?
Yeah.
And was Callan then transported to Children's Hospital?
Yeah.
Did anyone ever tell you not to leave your kids alone with Lindsay?
No.
In January of 2023, did Lindsay ever tell you that she wanted to harm your children?
No.
Did she ever tell you she was going to kill your children?
No.
Did you receive, a few days after this happened, did you receive a phone call from the defendant while she was at Brigham and Women's Hospital?
Cora and Dawson were pronounced dead that night. Callan, the baby, was flown to Boston Children's Hospital and fought for 3 more days. He died on January 27th. All 3 had been strangled. I'm not going to describe more than that. They deserve better than to be a crime scene detail. Now the state builds its case, and make no mistake, it is not nothing. Prosecutors argue this was deliberate, premeditated, that the errands were not random, that she engineered a window of time alone with the children. And they point to what investigators pulled off her devices. A note, in her own words, about not being able to parent, and a search, days before, that the prosecution says shows a mind that knew exactly what it was. Can you treat a sociopath? To the state, that's not psychosis. That's awareness. That's a person thinking clearly about what she is. But the defense went into that same phone, and they pulled out very different searches. Not the searches of a cold planner, they argue, the searches of a terrified woman Googling her own symptoms, trying to name the voice she says she was hearing, and looking for a way out of her own life. Same phone. 2 completely different people, depending on which line you read out loud in that courtroom. That is this entire trial, compressed into one device. And the prosecution's version isn't only about the phone. It's built on a reconstruction of that evening, the timing of the calls, the errands, the order of events, assembled to argue that this was organized, not chaotic. Prosecutors point to the calm of that afternoon, the snowman, the normal texts, and say a woman truly out of her mind, does not present that neatly to the husband she is about to leave alone with the consequences. They point to the deliberate use of ligatures. They argue she understood enough to wait until she was alone. The defense answers that on its own terms, that the calm was the flat, numb effect she had literally described to her doctors weeks earlier. Not composure, but the absence of feeling that terrified her. That a person can carry out a horrific act with terrible, mechanical focus and still be psychotic. That focus is not the opposite of delusion. And that reading premeditation backward from a tragedy is one of the oldest traps there is, once you know the ending. Every ordinary detail of the day starts to look like a clue. Two expert narratives, built from the same evidence, pointing in opposite directions. That is not a technicality. That is genuinely the hardest kind of case there is. Lindsay survived the fall from that window, but barely, and not whole. The injuries were catastrophic. She was left paralyzed from the waist down. So when Massachusetts brought its charges, there was no defendant standing in a courtroom. On February 7, 2023, Lindsay Clancy was arraigned over a video link from a bed in a Boston hospital as the clerk read the counts one by one.
Count 1, murder, juvenile 1. Count 2, 265, section 1, murder, juvenile 2. Count 3, 265, 15D, big A, strangulation or suffocation, juvenile 1. Count 4, 265, 15D, big A, strangulation, suffocation, juvenile 2. Count 5, 265, 15D, big A, strangulation or suffocation, juvenile 3. Count 6, 265, 15A, big A, assault and battery, dangerous weapon, two-way exercise rope, juvenile 1. Count 7, assault and battery, 265, 15A with a dangerous weapon, two-way exercise rope, juvenile 2. And count 8, 265, 15A, assault and battery, dangerous weapon, exercise rope, two-way juvenile 3. Man, a plea of not guilty will be entered. Please be advised while this case is pending, any violation of state, federal, or local law may result in bail being revoked and be held without bail.
Commonwealth, I'll hear from you first.
Thank you, Your Honor. The Commonwealth is requesting that the defendant be held without bail based on the facts of the case, the strength of the Commonwealth's case, and the potential penalty. On Friday, January 27, 2023, using an erasable whiteboard because she was still temporarily intubated, one of the first questions that Lindsay Clancy asked was, "Do I need an attorney?" She knew that she had murdered her children, and she had the clarity, focus, and mental acumen to focus on protecting her own rights and interests. The following is a summary of the events that led to the murders of Cora Clancy, Dawson Clancy, and Callan Clancy. On the morning of Tuesday, January 24th, 2023, the defendant took her 5-year-old daughter Cora to the pediatrician's for an appointment. She interacted with a receptionist, nursing staff, and a doctor. There were apparently no issues with the defendant's demeanor or behavior as she completed the appointment and was allowed to leave with Cora without any issues or concerns. When she returned home, she went outside with Cora and her 3-year-old son Dawson to play in the snow. They built a snowman. The defendant sent photos to her mother and to the defendant, to her husband. She texted with them. Nothing in the text was out of the ordinary or any sign of any distress or trouble. Back inside later that day at 4:02 p.m., the defendant searched on her phone Kids Miralax. She then searched at Takeout 3V via her...
And in that same hearing the prosecution laid out, for the first time, the story it would still be telling 3 years later, that she knew what she was doing.
She was still temporarily intubated. One of the first questions that Lindsay Clancy asked was, "Do I need an attorney?" She knew that she had murdered her children, and she had the clarity, focus, and mental acumen to focus on protecting her own rights and interests. The following is a summary of the events that led to the murders of Cora Clancy, Dawson Clancy, and Callan Clancy. On the morning of Tuesday, January 24th, 2023, the defendant took her 5-year-old daughter Cora to the pediatrician's for an appointment. She interacted with a receptionist, nursing staff, and a doctor. There were apparently no issues with the defendant's demeanor or behavior as she completed the appointment and was allowed to leave with Cora without any issues or concerns. When she returned home, she went outside with Cora and her 3-year-old son Dawson to play in the snow. They built a snowman. The defendant sent photos to her mother and to the defendant, to her husband. She texted with them. Nothing in the text was out of the ordinary or any sign of any distress or trouble. Back inside later that day at 4:02 p.m., the defendant searched on her phone Kids Miralax. She then searched at Takeout 3V via her cell phone at 4:13 p.m. Immediately after doing that, she used Apple Maps on her phone to determine how long it would take someone to drive from her home in Duxbury to 3V restaurant in Plymouth. So she would know how long someone would be gone if they ran that errand. She next went on the CVS website at 4:47 p.m. and then called CVS on Summer Street in Kingston. She spoke to the manager of CVS and asked if they had the Kids Miralax. The manager told her no, but they had other similar medications. According to the manager of CVS, her voice did not sound slurred or impaired in any way. She had no trouble understanding the defendant, and it was a perfectly normal conversation. At 4:53 p.m., the defendant texted her husband, who was working in his home office in their basement. She texted, "Any chance you want to do takeout from 3V? I didn't cook anything. It's been a long day." This was an unusual request, as when the family ordered takeout, they'd usually go somewhere closer to home, but it was a place that they had been in the past. Patrick Clancy texted back yes, and then the defendant asked him to check the menu. At 5:06 p.m., the husband texted the defendant asking what she was going to get. She responded, "A Mediterranean."
She was ordered held without bail and eventually moved to a locked unit at Duxbury Hospital. Her attorney, Kevin Reddington, drew the battle line immediately, and it was one word. She wasn't evil, he argued. She was over-medicated. Ill. That word, in that first week, told you exactly where this was going to go. So there are two stories here, and they cannot both be true. Story 1: a mother in a depressive spiral made a monstrous, deliberate choice, and is now hiding behind a diagnosis. Story 2: a woman was failed by a cascade of care, over-medicated, misdiagnosed, her worsening psychosis missed by hospital after hospital, until she did something that, in any healthy moment of her life, would have been unthinkable to her. And here is the detail that tells you how strange this case really is. In early 2026, both Lindsay and Patrick, the mother and the father, the man who came home to that house, filed lawsuits against her former medical providers, arguing the system failed her. Patrick publicly asked people to forgive his wife. He wrote about it, spoke about it, pleaded for grace toward the woman charged with killing his children. Grief does not move in a straight line. He has since filed for divorce and remarried. All of that is true at the same time, and none of it makes the next part any simpler. The years before trial were their own strange chapter. Lindsay's case became national magazine material, and in the run-up to trial, prosecutors went to court seeking Patrick's own statements to a reporter from The New Yorker, an unusual fight over a journalist's notes that shows just how closely this case was being watched. And because of her paralysis, even getting Lindsay Clancy into the courtroom became a legal battle of its own. Her team fighting over how she would be transported, by ambulance, to sit through her own trial. Every ordinary mechanic of a murder case, in this one, turned into something without precedent. It took more than 3 years to reach trial. In July of 2026, in Plymouth County Superior Court, it finally began, and it opened with a concession you almost never hear from a defense. They stood up and agreed that Lindsay Clancy killed her children. They were not going to contest it. Their argument was that she should not be held criminally responsible, that she was legally insane, in the grip of postpartum psychosis, unable in that moment to understand that what she was doing was wrong. That flips the usual trial on its head. This was never going to be about whether she did it. It was going to be about what was real to her while she did, and the first person walked through it all was the father. Patrick Clancy spent 2 days on that stand. He walked the jury through the decline, the hospitals, the medications, the ordinary mourning, and at one point the prosecutor asked him the quietest, most devastating question of the whole trial: had any doctor, any hospital, ever warned him not to leave the children alone with their mother? His answer was a single, devastating word. No, nobody ever told him. Whatever you conclude about Lindsay, sit with that. Because it is the horror underneath the horror, the people whose job it was to see this coming didn't. When the defense began its own case, it did not lead with experts. It led with the people who loved her, because the whole question in that room was whether the woman they knew could possibly be the same person who did this. Her mother-in-law took the stand, not a stranger, a nurse, the woman who had helped find her care. Asked the simplest question there is, she didn't hesitate.
She loved her children, all of them, very, very much.
And during that period of time, let's say October, November of 2022, what did you observe about Lindsay?
She reached out to me in November and told me that she felt unwell.
Did she describe any symptoms?
She did.
Tell the jurors what she said.
She felt, mostly she had insomnia. She was losing her appetite. She was very anxious and sad.
Did she tell you that she was seeing doctors?
Yes.
And at some point, did you recommend, did she come to you and ask you for help regarding seeing a doctor?
Yes, she asked for my support.
And did you obviously gave it to her?
Yes.
And what did you do to make any recommendations for her?
I reached out to my colleagues who were running a clinic for women that were struggling postpartum.
Would that be the South Shore?
Yes, correct.
And through that terrible autumn, even as she was drowning, that love kept showing up as effort. She kept trying.
And she said, I'm trying hard to get better. I'm still working at it. I asked about her sleep. I thought that was important. And also the fact that she lost some weight. She didn't have an appetite. And she said things were getting better.
Her own mother, Paula, testified to the darker side of it. That by December, Lindsay had confided the thing no mother ever wants to say out loud, that she was having thoughts of harming the children. Her mother described the medication as if it were rewriting her daughter from the inside, and recalled Lindsay telling her, in a line that has stayed with a lot of people who followed this case, that this wasn't her, she just wanted to feel better and enjoy her kids again. And there was a specific fear keeping her from saying all of it to the doctors who could have helped most.
What?
Well, in the records, it's stated that Ms. Clancy reported she was worried that her children would be taken away from her, perhaps by the Department of Children and Families, if she reported very severe symptoms.
Even the prosecution's own expert acknowledged that fear was real and documented, that Lindsay believed her children could be taken from her if people knew the full truth of what she was going through.
Children would be taken away from her if anyone knew what she was going through, correct?
Yes.
But that's actually a rational belief, is it not? That if someone knows you want to harm your children, they might be taken away?
It can be rational, but it was more, it approached irrational in her case rather than rational.
I have nothing further.
Your redirect? Bless you.
No, thank you, Doctor.
All right, so if we could turn off that. Thank you, Doctor.
Think about that trap. The sicker she got, the more terrified she was to fully admit how sick she was, because admitting it might mean losing the very children she was afraid of hurting. The defense doesn't offer that as an excuse. They offer it as the reason the warning signs stayed just quiet enough that no one pulled the alarm in time. Which brings the entire case down to two men who never met Lindsay Clancy until after her children were dead, and who looked at the same woman and saw opposite things. For the defense, Dr. Philip Resnick. If you follow these cases, you know the name. one of the most prominent forensic psychiatrists in the country, the man who testified for the defense of Andrea Yates, the Texas mother whose case 2 decades ago rewrote how America talks about this exact tragedy. Resnick evaluated Lindsay a few months after the killings, and he told the jury what postpartum psychosis actually is and what he believed it did to her. And he had seen this before, because he is the same forensic psychiatrist who worked the Andrea Yates case.
Did you also work on the matter of Andrea Yates?
Yes, I testified for the defense in both of her trials.
Did you also work on the case of what is known as the Aurora movie theater shooting?
Yes, I was a consultant to the prosecutor in that case.
That history matters because Resnick put Lindsay's actions in a clinical category most people have never heard of, what forensic psychiatry calls altruistic filicide. The unbearable, contradictory idea that a mother in the grip of psychosis can come to believe that killing her children is a way of saving them.
What does that mean, altruistic filicide?
Altruistic filicide occurs when a murder is committed out of love rather than hostility. It is an effort on a mother's part to do what is best for the child. They may believe the child they may have a delusional belief the child is about to be tortured in their delusional mind, and they take their life in doing what they believe is in the best interest of the children based on their delusional idea. It was a major mental disease on the day of the crime.
Now, doctor, in the course of that diagnosis, have you considered the concept of postpartum depression and or postpartum psychosis?
Yes.
And can you tell the jurors how that...
First of all,
I'm sorry. Can you tell the jurors how that factors into your diagnosis and opinion?
Yes. Ms. Clancy had a history of anxiety and difficulty with each of her children. It was minor with her first child, more significant with her second child, and on the occasion of Callan's birth, things went well for the first 3 months, but then Ms. Clancy became very anxious and depressed, and it took quite a toll on her.
And can you tell us, doctor, what, in your opinion, what a command hallucination is and how it fits, if you will, in a diagnosis of psychosis?
Yes. If we take, first of all, a hallucination is simply hearing a voice, and the voice can be benign or it can be more malignant. So a voice may just simply say, open the window. About 1/3 of voices are called command hallucinations. That is an instruction to do something. And the majority of those commands are benign. So it might be open a window, get a glass of water. It might be something much more ominous, such as to kill oneself or harm someone else. Those are dangerous command hallucinations. Now, in Ms. Clancy's case, she had not only a command hallucination on the day that she killed her children, she had what is known as a delusion of influence. That is, not only did she hear a command, but she felt that her body was taken over by an external force where she was in a dream state and did not have control of her own body. It was almost like she was a puppet and someone else was pulling the strings.
Yeah, hold on a second. Counsel? an instruction at this point. I'm going to go into this also a little bit later when I give you the full instructions at the end of the case. But you were not to consider the defendant's statements to any psychiatrist or psychologist as establishing the truth of any facts that are contained in that sentence, in those statements, all right? The defendant's statements to any psychiatrist or psychologist for purposes of evaluation cannot be considered by you as evidence of premeditation, extreme atrocity or cruelty, or specific intent to kill. Such statements are admissible only as they relate to the basis for the doctor's opinion of the defendant's mental condition. All right, and I'll go into that a little bit later. Okay? Go ahead, Mr. Wright.
So, Doctor, to conclude, would you relate your opinion as it relates to the standard of a person being lacking criminal responsibility at the time of the commission of a crime in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts?
Well, there are two arms to the test for criminal responsibility. One has to do the defendant's ability to control their conduct, and the other has to do with their knowledge of the wrongfulness of their acts. I'd like to address each of those separately, if I may.
Sure.
A command hallucination, not a whisper of a bad idea, a voice, which Lindsay described as a male voice, that issues orders the sufferer experiences as impossible to disobey. In Lindsay's account, that voice tied itself to each child in turn.
Let me just make sure I'm covering other aspects of this. The second evidence that she was lacking control is the fact that she made a severe suicide attempt, also based on the command hallucination that she heard that day, so that she not only cut her throat and jumped out of a window, she very much wanted to die. Now, in my research on women who kill their children, I've divided.
The defense also pointed to the specific texture of what she reported: auditory, not visual, a voice she heard rather than things she saw, which is consistent with how this illness often presents.
Did you see that, in fact, that Lindsay had auditory, no visual hallucinations, but auditory voices?
At times, she reported that she had heard a voice, yes.
Okay. Do you recall that as the time went by, that she, in December, do you remember seeing in the medical records that she was relating that she was heavy, that she couldn't get out of bed, that she couldn't bathe, that she couldn't react, she couldn't love, she couldn't feel? Do you remember any of that from looking at the medical records?
Yes, those are all phrases that I recall from the medical records.
Resnick's conclusion was blunt.
And Doctor, when a person is psychotic or involved in having a psychosis, in your opinion, are they able to appear normal, quote unquote, communicate with people, drive a car, things of that nature?
Well, let me say there that Ms. Clancy herself did her best to not reveal the extent of her depression. She was frank with members of her own family. Her sister, her mother, her mother-in-law were aware of how anguished and depressed she was. But with more casual friends, she tended not to show the extent of her depression. I'm not suggesting that she was, although psychosis can indeed wax and wane, for example, on the day of her crime. All right. The second category does apply to Ms. Clancy, and that is it's called acutely psychotic suicide.
Okay.
And this occurs when someone is frankly psychotic They may have delusions or hallucinations. They're out of touch with reality. And rather than having any rational motive, they're simply acting on their psychotic beliefs. So those two both apply to Ms. Clancy. The other three...
Okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, that's right. Just give us the other three, the captions of them.
The other three which do not apply, one is called child maltreatment, in which a parent may shake the child to death or throw a child against a wall in an abusive manner. The next category is unwanted child, where someone, just for their convenience, the child is a burden and they kill the child for that motive. And the final motive is spouse revenge filicide. That is, someone hates their spouse so much that they're willing to sacrifice the child as a way to punish the spouse. And the three latter categories clearly do not apply to Ms. Clancy. She loved her husband, respected her husband, had a good marriage. She never spanked or ever abused her child, and all of her children were wanted. In fact, she planned to have a fourth child. So those three categories clearly do not apply. If I can explain how the two categories did apply, I've already mentioned that Miss Clancy believed that a distorted belief that her children would just be miserable, and she could not imagine them continuing to exist and have a decent life.
He described a woman who, in his opinion, was in those minutes like a puppet, as though someone else were pulling the strings. If the jury believes that, she is not guilty by reason of insanity. Then the prosecution stood up its own expert to say not so fast. He interviewed her too in April of 2026 across 2 days, and what he described was not a woman lost to psychosis.
And cooperative.
When you begin an interview with an individual that you're evaluating, do you conduct what's referred to as a mental status exam?
Well, the mental status exam happens all the while that you're interacting with somebody. You're always observing for aspects of their emotions, how they speak, their mood, and so forth. Sometimes there are directed aspects of the mental status examination where you are asking about particular cognitive capacities, like executive functioning. I believe tearful at one point, but otherwise nothing remarkable on mental status examination.
And in these evaluations, when you're interviewing the individuals, are you also kind of taking account of their physical presentation?
Yes.
And obviously, when you met with her in April of 2026, you were able to observe her physical condition, right?
Yes.
And what were your observations of her physical condition?
Well, she's utilizing a wheelchair. Generally speaking, there were not necessarily abnormal movements that I observed. She seemed comfortable physically.
Did you find that she was able to kind of navigate her situation herself? Meaning you were in a room with her with other individuals, right?
Yes.
And she was able to kind of take care of her own.
I'm going to object leading at this point, just as they object.
Sustained, if you just ask the observations.
What did you observe her do as far as moving herself around the room? Was she able to do that?
Yes, at the moments when there were transitions, when we took a break and she went out to the hall, she was able to navigate her wheelchair one place or another. And
when you spoke with her on April 10th and April 12th, were you able to kind of have a conversation with her about her level of functioning at the Duxbury?
Yes.
And did she tell you anything about what her general day looked like?
She described her general day. She described basically her existence there at Duxbury.
Okay. And did she indicate to you whether she engaged with other patients, or did she spend her day mostly in bed, or what did she say about that?
Mostly, she described she stays in bed or on her own. I don't think she described interacting with patients very much. There were a couple of ways in which she did interact with staff, at least. There was a therapist that she described working with. She did describe having had a physical therapist at a certain point. I'm not sure if I remember if she still was getting physical therapy. She stated she wasn't very interested in the physical therapy that she was getting there. She wasn't interested in the food there. She described having visitors at a not infrequent basis, and that sometimes she was able to eat food or drinks that were brought.
Would label that a postpartum psychosis in the sense that it was a postpartum onset and she was clearly psychotic on that day.
Doctor, when a person is psychotic or involved in having a psychosis, in your opinion, are they able to appear normal, quote unquote, communicate with people, drive a car, things of that nature?
Well, let me say there that Ms. Clancy herself did her best to not reveal the extent of her depression. She was frank with members of her own family, her sister, her mother-in-law were aware.
He is also an expert on something specific malingering, the clinical word for faking or exaggerating mental illness. And he walked the jury through why command hallucinations, in particular, are easy to claim and hard to disprove.
It would all be something that would be upsetting, correct?
They sometimes are, yes.
Now, you've written a lot about malingered psychosis, correct?
Yes.
And malingering psychosis, you can have a mental illness and your malingering could be exaggerating those symptoms or saying you have psychosis symptoms when you don't, correct?
That's correct.
And one of the things that you have written, and there's an article that you wrote called Faking It, you've written in here, quote, command auditory hallucinations are easy to fabricate. Persons experiencing genuine command hallucinations do not always obey the voices, especially if doing so would be dangerous, correct?
That's correct.
You've also given some points to other practitioners. If you, quote, if you suspect a person of malingered auditory hallucination, ask what he or she does to make the voices go away or diminish in intensity, correct?
Yes.
Because typically someone who hears a voice telling them to do something horrible like kill their child will try to resist that voice initially, correct?
That there's variability. Some do and some don't.
And in fact, the case you mentioned earlier, Andrea Yates, Miss Yates, in fact, committed herself to a hospital 5 times and tried to kill herself twice, all while trying to not kill her children, correct?
Yes.
She had heard voices for months and telling her to kill her children. And to resist those voices, she actually tried to kill herself, correct?
Until she could no longer resist the voices, yes.
Right. But she tried.
Right, as did Ms. Clancy.
Well, according to the records and reports that we have that are in evidence, Ms. Clancy heard the voice and immediately acted, correct? According to those records?
Well,
is that correct?
Well, Ms. Clancy had impulses to harm her children, which she did resist until the command hallucination when she was overwhelmed, yes.
But according to the records and the testimony that we've had...
And this is where the legal test actually lives. not in the word crazy, but in a precise question the jury is bound to. In Massachusetts, the defense has to show that, because of a mental disease, she lacked the substantial capacity either to appreciate that what she was doing was wrong, or to control her conduct. The prosecution's expert put it in exactly those terms.
A person who might be suffering from psychosis, can they appreciate or do they know right from wrong?
There's no reason that psychosis in of itself inhibits a person's ability to know right from wrong.
Now, as far as in this case with this particular defendant, you have identified that you believe it's a major depressive disorder, right?
Yes.
Did you consider other diagnoses?
Yes.
What about bipolar? Did you consider bipolar?
I weighed whether there might have been bipolar disorder.
And so why not for this defendant?
Well, to be diagnosed with bipolar disorder, you need to have had a manic episode. That's at least for bipolar type 1. For bipolar type 2, you need to have had a effect, namely major depressive episode as a part of major depressive disorder.
And as far as the substantial capacity to appreciate wrongfulness or criminality of conduct, were you able to come to an opinion to a reasonable degree of medical certainty about that?
Yes.
And what's your opinion regarding that?
That she had retained that capacity.
And what information do you rely upon to come to that conclusion?
The first point is that this was a continuation. Her mental state at that time was a continuation of the mental state she had had for months. And it was a mental state that included the capacity to control her behavior and also to be able to conform her conduct to standards of law. So in that sense, first of all, there's not an indication to me that there was something that changed the overall capacity in that regard. Secondly, to the extent we are talking about the ability to conform her conduct to the law, one can analyze her actions.
His point is subtle, and it matters being mentally ill, even severely, is not automatically the same as being legally insane. A person can be profoundly depressed, even, in some sense, psychotic, and still, in the eyes of the law, know what they are doing is wrong. And there is a real scientific fog underneath this fight, which is part of why the trial drew the crowds it did. Postpartum psychosis is rare, it can come on fast, and it can lift and return in waves, which means a woman can look lucid to a doctor on a Monday and be lost by Wednesday. It is exactly the kind of illness that a 15-minute telehealth check or a 5-day hospital stay can miss entirely. Several of Lindsay's own clinicians testified that they never saw psychosis. The defense's answer is that they weren't in the room at 5:30 on January 24th, and that the one moment that mattered is the one no clinician ever observed. That distinction between the woman on the video calls and the woman in those minutes is the ground the entire verdict will be fought on. And then the prosecution leaned on something Lindsay herself reportedly said about that night. That as she killed her children, she spoke the words, "Go to God."
Referred to when she was killing the kids, the "go to God." Does that inform your opinion?
It does.
And why?
My understanding is that the sentiment "go to God" is a way of bestowing or thinking about the children as innocents and as ones who hadn't done wrong, while what she was doing was the opposite, was wrong, or could be construed as wrong. And so "go to God" not only was a hope for the children, but also a description of the situation.
Okay, and what about the report from her that the voice was telling her, "This is your last chance"? Is that significant to identify whether she would have had some knowledge or known that it was something that was wrong?
Well, to the extent that it was seen as her last chance, yes, because there was an awareness that it was something that would be disallowed by their father.
And as far as after the incident, when she woke up at the Brigham and Women's Hospital, you're aware that she reported to the staff there that she was horrified, correct?
Yes.
And so the fact that she immediately afterwards identified that she was horrified, does that go to her capacity to appreciate the wrongfulness of her conduct?
Yes. One can consider that her mental state, once she was removed from the dexmedetomidine, was similar to what it had been on January 24th. And in that regard, the feeling of horror, the feeling of shame that comes from being horrified, indicates that she was aware that it had been the wrong thing to do.
And then finally, just to go back to the substantial capacity to conform conduct, you've told us a little bit about that, about the fact that her condition hadn't really changed all that much. You outlined what she did that day. But is there anything else to consider based on everything that you reviewed that would indicate to you that she did maintain the substantial capacity to conform her conduct to the requirements of the law?
I think that in the household, she was engaging in this activity methodically, which highlights to me that there was an ability to conform her behavior to expectations of living in a household.
What do you mean methodically?
As I understand the deaths, they were done methodically, and I think you asked me about that earlier, one by one, in a way that was organized and that was intended to achieve a particular goal. Similarly, her attempt at suicide was organized and thoughtful in a sense that it included as many possible methods as possible.
And as far as the killings of the children methodically, did she report to you in any way that she was given direction by this voice on how to complete the act and what exactly to do?
No, she did not.
And what about the call with Pat?
And this is the part that makes this case genuinely hard, and why I won't pretend to you the answer is obvious. The same 3 words can be heard as proof she was lost in a delusion, trying in her broken logic to save her children's souls, or as proof she knew exactly what she was doing. 12 people are going to decide which. Nobody watching from the outside gets to. Something happened outside that courthouse that almost never happens at a triple murder trial. Crowds gathered, and they were not there to condemn the defendant. They came in pink. Women, mostly. Many of them mothers, standing on the courthouse steps to say that what happened to Lindsay Clancy could have happened to them. Because this stopped being only a crime story a long time ago, it became the center of a national conversation about postpartum mental illness, about a condition that, in its most severe form, can produce hallucinations and a complete break from reality, and that is still so poorly understood, so easily missed, and so badly served by the systems meant to catch it. Doctors went on national television to explain how postpartum psychosis works and how fast it can move. The comparison to Andrea Yates came up again and again, the same questions, 2 decades later, still not answered. And the parallel is exact in a way that cuts both directions. Yates, too, had repeatedly sought help before she killed her 5 children.
And in fact, the case you mentioned earlier, Andrea Yates, Miss Yates, in fact, committed herself to a hospital 5 times and tried to kill herself twice, all while trying to not kill her children, correct?
Yes.
She had heard voices for months and telling her to kill her children, and to resist those voices, she actually tried to kill herself, correct?
That parallel is why so many people watching felt the stakes of this verdict reach far beyond one family in Duxbury. If a woman who did everything she was told to do, who asked for help over and over, could still end up here, then the question stops being only about her. It becomes about all of us, and about a safety net with holes big enough for a family to fall through. One family's private catastrophe had become an argument the whole country was suddenly, loudly having. Which brings us to now. The defense has rested. The prosecution has put on its rebuttal. Closing arguments are being delivered, and then it goes to the jury, a panel that will be narrowed to 12, who must be unanimous, and the choice in front of them could not be starker. If they find her guilty of first-degree murder, the sentence is fixed by Massachusetts law, life in prison, with no possibility of parole. If they find her not guilty by reason of lack of criminal responsibility, she does not walk free. She would be committed to a secure state psychiatric hospital, likely for a very long time, possibly the rest of her life. Two completely different endings, resting on a single question that no brain scan and no blood test can answer for certain what was real to her in those minutes. As of the making of this video, that question is still open. 12 people are being asked to settle it. When they do, it will be its own story, and will tell it. But whatever they decide, it doesn't change the 3 people at the center of all of this. Cora was 5 years old. Dawson was 3. Callan was 8 months old. Whatever a jury concludes about their mother's mind, that is the fact that never moves. 3 children who liked snowmen and art projects, and being tucked in, who should be starting school and losing baby teeth, and growing up, and aren't. If there is anything to carry out of a story this heavy, maybe it's this. When someone you love keeps saying that their own mind doesn't feel like their own, believe them. And don't stop pushing until someone truly listens. The warning signs in this case were said out loud, over and over, to the exact people who were supposed to help. Pay attention to the ones in your own life. You do not need a plan or a diagnosis or the perfect words to deserve help. You just need one person who won't look away. To the family who lost these 3 children, and in this case, that family includes the woman still on trial for it, there are no words that fit the size of it. Rest easy, Cora. Rest easy, Dawson. Rest easy, Colin. Thank you for staying to the end of this one, and for treating it with the seriousness it asks for. This has been the Crime Almanac, Real Cases, on the record. Subscribe so you're here when the verdict comes in and we finish this story together. Take care of yourself out there, and I'll see you in the next case.